First thing that we'll do is call roll call. Looks like everyone is here. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I did add a few recognition and good things happening, and Dave will be reading them a little bit later today. Also, there's an addition to number 8 consent agenda, so it'd be under E personnel number 5. I emailed that to you today. Corey Ronenberg, Fayed health teacher for school year 21-22.
Rodenberg. Okay.
I was going to ask with the handbooks that came out for board approval. Or at least first reading. Yes, sorry, first reading.
We sure can. I like that idea.
Okay. Where should we put that?
Do we want to slide down the resolution for the state statute and superintendent evaluation and just slide the other ones in?
Slide it in right after the
Yeah, so
faculty handbook.
Yeah, so your bullying would be I, paraprofessional would be J, iPad would be K, and laptop would be L.
Okay. Anything else? Any other changes? If not, is there a motion to approve those changes to the agenda? Please,
I make a motion to
approve the changes.
approve the changes to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Teresa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, we need a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Thanks, Cassidy. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thanks, Deb. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, was there any public input tonight? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the recognition of the good things happening. We'd like to send a thank you to the staff members working tirelessly over the summer months. Your efforts and diligence are noted and appreciated. Thank you to all the community members, businesses, and constituents for their support the past school year. We appreciate you and look forward to serving our students beside you in the school year of 21-22. Have some other thank yous here that I'd like to read as well. A thank you to Kyle Stern, Chase Huntley, and John Stockdale for all their efforts in our summer Leroy Softball League. The boys and girls have so much fun learning the fundamentals and playing the games. Also, thank you to John Stockdale and the entire Leroy Summer Rec staff for providing many different options for the students of all ages. Making every sport fun and unique, as well as competing as a group, is just amazing to witness. Thank you to Nathan Fraser for his continued upkeep on the baseball field. He takes time from his busy schedule to keep our field in tremendous condition and one of the best in the area. Also coming from the Ag Department, Alan and Joan Moose had a nursery business north of Grand Meadow and have retired. They have donated various starter pots, hanging baskets, trays, potting planters, etc. to the LO Ag Department greenhouse, and are so glad we will use materials for student learning and saving of overall budget funds for the department. So we'd like to thank them very much as well for that. Is there anything else that anyone knows of that we've overlooked? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. I assume everyone's read the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any questions about that? Corrections, additions? Okay. Treasurer's reports. Anything there, Teresa or Sarah, to add?
I reviewed bills and all the reports and everything looks good.
Okay. No fundraisers this month. Looks like we had some pool donations. The speakers were from the Lowe family, beach balls from the Bly family, water football from Ken, who didn't provide a last name, so. Personnel issues. We need to approve the resignation of Chad Bundy as the bus maintenance supervisor. Approve the hiring of Nicholas Schmitz as the STEM teacher. Approve the hiring of Catherine Beaufort as sixth grade teacher. Approval of the following job descriptions: principal, teachers, school nurse, building and grounds director, paraprofessional, food service director, and accounts payable district office. And then also approval of Corey Rodenberg as the Fayette. Are there any questions about any of those?
I had a couple things with the personnel. Under the nurse, it says school district 497. We're actually 499. Buildings and grounds says Lyle, not L-O, towards the end. And the top of food service says Lewiston, Altura, not
Where do you
Leroy.
guys think I got these?
Your
Just
archive.
ideas, just ideas. Yes, I could do that. Good catches. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve everything on the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thanks, Teresa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Casty. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to the discussion and action items. Policy review. Second reading for 212, school board member development. It's written like we want to take these one at a time. Is that necessary?
You can do all the second readings at once.
At one time.
Okay. Anything to add on 212 by anyone? Any questions?
We did the second reading at policy. We had no changes on the 212 school board member development. There were no changes on 213 school board committees. No second changes on 214 out-of-state travel. No changes on 301 school district admin. No changes on 302 superintendent, and no changes on 303 superintendent selection. And there were no changes on the 304 superintendent contract and duties, as well as 305 policy implementation.
Okay, very good. There's one more, Administrator
306.
Code of Ethics.
Oh, sorry, we didn't
Second
have any on
reading.
that one either.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, discussion on the second reading of policy 212, 213, 214, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, and 306? That's a long list. That's a mouthful. If there's no discussion, is there a motion to approve the second reading of those policies?
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of policy 212, 213, 214, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, and 306.
Okay. Is there a second to that
I
motion?
will second that.
Thanks, Deb. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Now we're looking at the first reading of 401, 402, 403, 404, and 405. Anything to add by the policy committee?
401, we added that we had to name our Title IX and 504 coordinator, which would be Principal Hungerholt. And 402, we had to add the 504 coordinator's information, which of course again is Mr. Hungerholt. Otherwise, we had no other changes in 403, 404, or 405.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about those policies, the first reading? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve the first reading of those policies 401, 402, 403, 404, and 405?
I'll make the motion to approve the first reading of 401, 402, 403, 404, and 405.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. Is there a second? Thanks, Pat. Any other discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, discussion of the School Board Scholarship Committee. What did you have in mind there, Jen?
So we had a discussion at our district policy committee level related to, I believe they were policy 213, school board committees. And so we started digging a little bit deeper into this policy, wondering basically kind of what should board involvement be, what should community involvement be, kind of where we're at. Am I right on that?
Yeah, we were trying to figure out how, because some of the information is technically, student information, so the public shouldn't have it.
Private?
But what do you, so then do you tell the public, please donate your money to us, but no, you can't have a say? So we were kind of wondering, and we posed the question to Terry Morrow, which is legal up at MSBA, and he said, school board policies are considered, school board committees are considered open to public. However, a district committee is not subject to open meeting laws. So kind of a way around it could be that it'd be more of a district committee than a school board committee, which would then allow for some more protection, I would say, against the student data and what, their information is.
So right now it's considered a school board committee?
Correct.
Okay. Makes sense. What's anybody else think? Anybody have an opinion?
So it would become a district committee.
It could.
It could, and then, but community members could be a part of it or not?
Well, we discussed too then having, the community members on it sign what would be like a non-disclosure agreement, that you understand what you read on these papers, it happens in this room, stays in this room. That way, from a legal standpoint, as the school, if say someone were to run out there and say, hey, guess what? You sign this, so that way we are covered legally that we did our job to try to stop that from happening. So that is one option we have, because me personally, I wasn't a fan of saying no community, you can't
Right.
have a say. But we were trying to figure out
How
what the
to-
best way to do it is with protecting the district as well.
I agree.
Well, if they're donating money for a scholarship, and they need to have some of that information, be able to make a
Correct.
choice.
Correct.
Can I interject?
Yeah, yes, sure, you bet.
They do sign their application and they can, it says, that they're gonna have their grades looked at, their class rank. Aaron's been in plenty of the meetings, Pat. We do discuss the confidentiality, nothing leaves, we do not give out paper copies of anything. I think it'd be not a good idea to have not community involvement because I think people will frankly pull their money out if you do
correct.
that.
Yeah, I think that's
It's a bright spot that we have. We give a lot of money. We just went over $1 million this year.
exactly.
I hate to make a lot of changes because I think you'll get some pushback and you might lose some money out of the deal.
We can't not, what am I trying to say? Have community members. They're the ones that are donating the money.
Right.
I mean, they have to be involved.
And if it's a
So we
matter
can't
of-
go down that road.
We're happy, and we review our application every year, and before we send it out, I talk to the kids, or whoever, it's usually me. Happy to add a statement on there, happy to have our committee members sign something if that's what's best for the district. Right now, it's kind of you don't sign a disclosure agreement when you walk in here, but it's no. And that's kind of how we're operating in that committee too, but if it helps to have everybody on the committee sign something, I'm happy to facilitate that and have everybody on our committee do that. I just hate to kind of change things up and throw wrenches in it because it seems to work so smoothly now.
Like I said,
My 2 cents.
the biggest thing is because, like I said, it's a school board committee. They're open to the public. We can't.
But I don't think it has to be a school board.
That's what I'm saying.
So the question
The school board
is-
meeting has to be open, but if it's considered a district committee, then it does not open to any of the public to come in and sit and watch. So it would still be in the control of the committee or the school, but it wouldn't be considered a school board one, it would be a district one.
And
Then it
right
would
now,
be
there's only
open.
two board members on it.
Correct.
Well, board members could still be part of it.
Correct, you can still be a part of it.
And that's,
That's right.
I think, why we
That's
went
right.
away from, I think we've always kind of stayed with one or two people for that reason, so that
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be opened up to the public.
Right, right.
But any school board committee meeting has to be, it is. So we either change it
Whether
to a
there's one
district.
board member or there's three.
If you don't want it to
it's-
be an open public meeting, it has to be a district committee.
Correct.
Right. So that's really all we're,
We
Yeah.
would change it
Trying
from
to
being called
decide
a
is it-
school board scholarship committee
Right.
to a district
Right.
scholarship committee.
So then at January, at the reorganization meeting, we would not elect any of you to be on that committee.
Correct.
You would not see that committee in front of you.
Right.
but a board member or two could still volunteer and be
volunteer.
on a
Yeah,
committee
if
if
you
they
wanted.
wanted
Yep.
to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which would,
As well,
you'd
so.
have to because it's the school's money. You would want school board members on it.
And Aaron's
No matter
on
what.
it, and plenty of teachers. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it makes good sense.
yeah, it does. So I think we'll make that decision tonight, right? I mean,
Go
we don't-
for it.
We can,
You sure can.
okay. Any other discussion before we ask for a motion to change the scholarship committee from a school board committee to a district committee? Tomato, tomato.
Pretty much.
Okay, is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion to change the school board scholarship committee to now a district scholarship committee.
Okay, thanks, Teresa. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Thanks, Casty. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Very good. Approve the school board regular monthly meeting calendar. Any comments, corrections, questions, I guess I should say, about that? Otherwise, we're just sticking with the third Tuesday. Okay, is there a motion to approve the monthly meeting calendar?
I'll make the motion to approve the monthly meeting calendar.
Thanks, Pat. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Deb. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the auditing service, which has been Smith Schaefer. Any questions about that? Any reservations about using them again or anything? Okay, otherwise is there a motion to approve Smith and Schaefer as our auditors?
I'll make the motion to approve Smith Schaefer as our auditing.
Okay, thanks, Cassidy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Teresa. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approved District 499 LTFM budget and finances. And I understand Sarah has something to share with us in that regard.
Do you see my PowerPoint screen that I'm moving around?
Sort of, but there's an agenda in front of it.
Really? Well,
There we go.
There we go.
get rid of that.
Oh,
Now it's back.
not, yeah.
No.
Now do you just see the slideshow?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, all right. We're in business then.
Okay.
So I provided the slides to you ahead of time so that you hopefully had an opportunity to look at those a little bit and just kind of get your head wrapped around a little bit of what we're going to go through tonight. You've got 4 documents aside from the slides that I provided you: the statement of assurances, the board resolution, and then the 10-year revenue projection and expenditure application. The statement of assurances is a form that needs to be signed by the superintendent, but I provided it to you just simply to keep you in the loop so that you know that that's a piece of documentation that we need to provide to the Department of Education, and to give you an opportunity to learn more about what some of the requirements are around this funding source. And quite frankly, it's another public outlet. It's an opportunity for members of the public, if they choose, to learn a little bit more about this funding source if they want. The board resolution is there because we are required to have the board actually approve this plan on an annual basis, as you know. And this board resolution actually documents the fact that we are having this discussion tonight. I added a line to the resolution stating that we're having ongoing discussion regarding our facility needs because we are having these facility meetings, and I want to make sure that we honor that. The people who are putting in time related to that, I don't want there to be any thought that we're putting this LTFN plan together and that we made some decision about what we're doing with these funds, because that's not at all the case. This is very much a clerical need that we need to fulfill tonight. So that's why I put that line in the board resolution. We use a board resolution rather than waiting for approval for minutes, simply because it's quicker. And it's easier to provide a board resolution in terms of documentation to the MDE. So rather than copy and pasting a section of board minutes, I can just send them this nice, neat resolution that you have in front of you. So after the board hopefully approves this, we will need Pat to sign the board resolution so we can send it up to the department. So the first thing we do then is look at the 10-year revenue projection. We need to look at the revenue before we can even begin to look at what we're going to think that we're going to spend. So I apologize that those projection spreadsheets are so tiny. I'm hoping that you're able to make them larger on your screen and kind of move around on them. There's just really no getting around that. I had provided them in both, I believe, Excel and PDF format in the hopes that you could use whatever method worked best for your technology so you could see what we're looking at. But regarding the revenue projection, it uses projected APUs, which is simply the ADMs that I use for the general education aid revenues times the weightings. And you can see that on line 6 of the revenue projection. It also has an average building age, which you can see grows by 1 year each fiscal year. You can see that on line 7. The average building age is actually something that gets reported up to the Department of Education, I believe, in December. It's not something that I had received a notification on at all during the course of the year last year, so it must have been something that gets reported through one of the maintenance folks at the district. The formula is $380 per APU, and you receive that full amount unless your buildings are 35 years or newer. Because LeRoy is in a situation where the buildings are older than 35 years, we receive that full $380 per APU. So roughly generating about $100,000 per year. You can see that on line 10. So lines 11 to 19 calculates any added revenue for eligible health and safety projects. The district is not currently using this. This is where if we had any projects over $100,000 for those specified health and safety categories, we would be able to levy additional dollars for it, and that's where we would put it. In lines 28 to 20C, they also provide for districts to do some VPK remodeling. Also something that the district is not using, but just wanted to draw your attention to it so that you knew that it was an option and something that's available. When LTFN came into place, they also built in what is called a whole harmless provision. So if you remember, they took the old health and safety funding and the old deferred revenue funding, and they combined those, and they are now calling it LTFM. But they also said that any district that was receiving funding under the old health and safety and LTFM should never be in a situation where they receive less money under LTFM than they would have received under those two old funding sources. And so that's what is projected, or that's what is calculated through lines 21 and 28. You can see that on line 21, under the old health and safety funding, the district would have received about $27,000 based on prior year spending, and the district would have been eligible for about $18,000 in old deferred revenue funding. And so because the sum total of those amounts is much less than the $100,000 that is generated under LTFM, we of course move forward with the $100,000 under LTFM. LTF funding is split between levy and aid, so that $100,000 that we receive is, some of it comes to us from our local taxpayers, and some of it comes from the state. That equalization is handled by the state and the counties. That's not something that we as a district have any control over. It's based on the adjusted net tax capacity and other equalizing factors. And you can see that calculated on lines 35 to 47, and then it's also summarized again on lines 56 to 62. As you look at that, just don't be confused. That's not new money, that's not additional money, that's just calculating the split of how we're going to receive, or what funding sources we're going to receive those dollars from. Another piece that the LTFN revenue can be used for is paying debt on bonds related to approved projects, and that's something that we were almost in a situation that we were going to use dollars for. If we were going to do that in the future, that's something that would be showing up on lines 49 to 55, so just a future reference sort of thing there. I do want to tell you this is just a tool. There's lots and lots of estimates in here. It's more helpful for looking out way out in the future. For purposes of projecting next year's budget, I'm relying on the certified budget that the board approved last December, and I'm looking at those real numbers rather than these projections out into the future. I'm relying on that more reliable information for the current budget, if that makes sense. However, the department requires that we put together this projection so that we can then look forward to see what we have for future years, and start having conversations and continue in LeRoy having conversations with their board, with their community about what types of projects we think we might want to undertake with these dollars. So based on your base knowledge of LTFM, because we've talked about this quite a little over the course of the last several months, and what I've talked about here, is there any questions about the revenue side of this and the funds that are available for LTFM?
I guess none.
Okay, I'm not hearing it. I was going to say, if I'm not hearing it, you've got to speak up. All right, I'll keep moving then. On the expenditure side of things, these are very much an estimate. These are not firm and can be adjusted at any time. Like I said before, we very much want to honor the work that is being done with the facilities group that is meeting and having the hard discussions about what needs to be done in the buildings and what those future plans should be. So this in no way negates that. But it is something that we are required to do by law each year. So here we are. The top 45 lines simply summarizes the expenditures that we, it's a spending plan, if you will, the next 10 years by, in my world, UFAR's finance code. You can see that there's a section that is set aside for health and safety type expenditures. Those are under $100,000, so they don't qualify for the additional revenue generation, but we're still required and need to do different things for health and safety management and fire safety and different things. The bottom 20 lines of the spreadsheet that do a roll forward of the projected LTFM fund balances. So based on what we are projecting our fund balances to be, what we know the revenues are projecting the revenues to be on the previous spreadsheet, and the expenditures listed on the expenditure spreadsheet, how much are we going to have left? You know, if we were to spend all of the dollars listed on the expenditure spreadsheet before you, how much money would be left for other projects is one way to look at it. Just to put it into some simpler terms. As you look at the expenditure numbers, the 2021 column is based on actual expenditures. So I simply went into Smart Finance and pulled the expenditures that have been coded to LTFM finance codes to date. That is subject to change if during the course of prepping for the audit, if I find that there are different expenditures that have been coded to non-LTFM codes that should have been coded to LTFM codes, we'll make those corrections as we prepare for the audit. But that's what it's looked like about a week ago. The 2022 column is based on the board-approved budget of $40,000. As if you'll remember, when I presented the budget, I had talked about how there's about a $40,000 kind of repairs and general maintenance type budget that had been generally spent out of the undesignated unreserved portion of the budget, and those expenditures are eligible to be paid for out of LTFM, and so it really makes more sense for those expenditures to come out of LTFM and off of that fund balance rather than your undesignated unreserved. So that column is built based on that $40,000. We don't know for sure what finance codes those expenditures are going to come out of at this point in the year. So I tried to split that up based on what it's looked like in previous years, and knowing that we can and will need to adjust this as the years go on. 2023 column is based on last year's LTFM plan, but is using more round numbers. And above and beyond that, I added, as you can see, $2,000 in the 347 physical hazards category, $5,000 in indoor air quality category, and $1,000 in building hardware and equipment category, simply because those are areas that have historically had expenditures and it seemed prudent to have something budgeted in those areas. And then 2024 and the remaining columns are just a copy of 2023, because we don't know what the plan is at this point. We're still having discussions about what we're planning to do with these dollars, with the buildings going forward. None of these numbers are based on actual projects. You know, there isn't a firm, solid plan of, projects that any of these numbers tie to at this point. That's being developed. In a perfect world, all of the numbers on the LTFM plan would tie to a specific list of projects. We're not there yet. But until we're there, we do need to have a 10-year plan, spending plan, put together that's been before the board, that, it's more or less a could-be spending plan, but it's more of a clerical operation than anything to meet that statutory guideline. So that's really where we're at. It's a set of numbers that hopefully make some sense, but they're really not tied to actual projects because we're very much in the throes of working on that.
So
Is there any questions?
Sarah, if there's an actual project that goes over those numbers goes above those numbers that you've put on the proposal, is that any type of a problem?
No. What happens then is typically if there's a large project that happens, part of the documentation that's required to happen along with that is a revised 10-year plan. And so at that point, we would revisit this. You would see a new 10-year plan that would be approved by the board, and then that would be submitted along with the plans to the Department of Education. So as long as we don't spend more than what we have available in that LTFM fund balance, we're fine. We are not tied by category in any way, shape, or form. We can submit a revised 10-year plan, spending plan at any time.
Anytime during the year,
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yes.
Any other questions? Doesn't sound like there's any other questions, Sarah.
Okay. So then this is one that is due, we have to have it to the Department of Education by July 31st. And so in order for us to meet that deadline, we need to have board approval on it, so that we can get all of the paperwork off to them.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Explained it very well. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Anybody got any questions about what we need to do? So is it just a matter of approving the resolution, or do we have to approve the, what's the other thing?
Approve the ISD 499 LTFM budget finances school year 21-22. So I'll need a motion and a second. And then.
So do we have to
and
have
all
two
may.
separate motions?
Nope, this is something different.
Okay.
It's a resolution that we are going to do a resolution.
Okay.
Or assurance that we're going to do the resolution.
Got so many papers here, I don't know what's what, sorry. Okay, so we need a motion to pass a resolution, and we all got a copy of it. Do I need to read this? No. We can all read perfectly well. Okay, is there a motion to approve that agenda? Or that, I'm sorry, approve that resolution? Anybody?
I'll make a
Please.
motion to approve the ISD 499 LTFM budget finances for the 21-22 school year.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it, Dave.
Thanks, Pat. I assume this is a roll call vote. Teresa?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Myself, yes?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Jed? Pat?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carried. Thank you. Anything else
Thank you.
needed? Anything else needed on that? Okay. Very good.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yep.
Okay, now, item F, approval of the first reading of the student 2021-22 student handbook. Any questions on that? Any comments from anyone? Otherwise, a motion to approve the first reading.
I had on the elementary on page 6 where we talk about classroom visitation, that, we encourage parents and stuff to come in. Do we want to reference the new volunteer policy, seeing how the background checks are no longer one and done, it's every 3 years?
What page is that on?
What page was that?
The bottom of page, looks like page 6.
I don't know if I can find it.
I think that one, the visitation, is in all of them, I think we have something about visitation and how many times people can visit. I think that's different than and the way we read it is different than the volunteer. It's because we also, I think it's in one of the other ones of, you have to get approval, you only can be in there for like X amount of minutes, so many times a year type thing for visitation. So I think there's a difference between, just my opinion, and you guys can differ with me, but a difference between a visitation to a classroom
And volunteering.
than a volunteering, because a visitation, I wouldn't look at doing any work with kids.
Right.
If you guys want to see any different, it's totally up to you guys.
Do we want to add a separate section in there then for volunteer in the, because usually it happens mostly in the elementary classrooms. That way parents have the book and they know that we've made changes to the volunteer policy.
That would probably,
So like, for example, if I went to visit, I would have I would be there for 10 minutes, I wouldn't really interact with the kids, I would be there just to observe.
correct.
Whereas if I went to help with a Halloween party,
Yes,
that would be
correct,
Volunteer.
a volunteer.
correct.
Okay. And so in the handbook to define those two different things.
That
One
might help
visit
too.
and then one more of, if you're gonna volunteer to. I mean, we do have the volunteer policy, but we should put in there that we should separate the two types of visiting, maybe.
Yep, we can separate that, add that for the second reading.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, how do we approve this first reading just with those potential changes? Okay, so is there a motion to that effect? Approve the first reading with the changes suggested on the volunteer versus visitation?
Are we going to group elementary and the middle school, high school into the one, since it's student handbook?
What was your question, Teresa?
With the
okay,
motion, because it's student handbooks, are we going to group them together as elementary and middle school, high school would qualify under student handbook?
Says
So they're
student.
separate handbooks, so how you want
It's just listed as one line on the agenda,
Correct.
student handbooks. Any questions about the others? Otherwise, we can make one motion and okay. If there's none, Teresa, would you like to make a motion that it would include your proposed changes
Yep.
in the first reading?
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of the 21-22 student handbooks with the changes to the elementary that will reference the volunteer policy and make a different reference between visitor and volunteer.
Well said. Is there a second to that?
Do we
Anyone?
want that to be only in the elementary, or do we want that to include?
Oh, good point.
Add it to that, I'll put it
Add
in
it
both.
to- add it to both.
I'll put it in both,
Yeah.
so however you want to reword your.
Okay, so I'm going to retract that and I'll reword it. I'm going to make a motion to approve the first reading of the 21-22 student handbooks for elementary and middle school, high school, with reference in both to the volunteer policy and a statement differentiating between volunteer and visitor.
Good.
Okay, very good.
Job.
Okay.
Oh, I am not repeating that again.
Just did it, somebody
It's gonna
did
be on
that.
tape,
It-
so
it-
you go back and listen to it.
It'll be word for word in a minute, so don't worry about it, right, Tiffany?
It's on video.
All right, we have a motion on the table. Is there a second to that?
I second that.
Thanks, Deb. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, approval of the first reading of the 21-22 Activities Handbook. Any questions, concerns, suggestions for changes?
I can tell you in the activities one, we tried to clean it up and make it more consistent of not just athletics, activities, athletics, all the way when it came to some things we ran into where when it comes to consequences of behaviors that students. So we tried to, so if you look at the consequences, then we tried to be more fair across the board and make it make sense all the way across the board of not just athletics, but also if you are any extracurricular activity from FFA to drama to athletics. So that was one of the big things we looked at because we had ran into some gray areas, so we were trying to eliminate as much of that as possible, if that makes sense.
Okay, makes perfect sense. Any questions? If there are none, is there a motion to approve the first reading of the activities handbook?
I make a motion to approve the first reading of the 2021-22 Activities Handbook.
Thank you, Deb.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Thanks, Cassidy. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, approval of the first reading of the faculty handbook for 21-22. Were any changes made to that, Aaron?
No, I think they've been working on the student activity account procedures and things like that, I believe. It
Yeah,
kind of
just
clears those
from
things
high
up.
school office to district offices,
Yeah.
basically.
I think they updated like the gas and the bus driver for field trips. We updated all that stuff. No, I think, and we added the social media thing last year, I believe. So that's one of the newer things in there, so.
Okay, very good. Any questions? If none, is there a motion to approve the first reading of the faculty handbook?
I'll make the motion to approve the first reading of the faculty handbook.
Thanks, Pat. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Teresa. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, then we move on to the bullying policy, paraprofessional, iPad, and laptop.
I can talk about the paraprofessional one. I believe this is the first year you guys are approving this one. This is something the consortium actually is, all of ours should be fairly similar along with SMEC. We just wanted some guidelines for all paraprofessionals because they all have to meet the same requirements. It's kind of the same definition of what their work schedules are with a few tweaks for your own school, but it's kind of more of a generic thing that, we never really had anything for paras when we hired them to give them to things like that. So this will be a nice tool for them to have. It gives them where they can go for different things, talks about confidentiality, things along those lines. And then the last 2 pages is what I have always given them. So I just took what we'd always given them here and just added it to the back of the entire handbook. So this is kind of the first time for this handbook for you guys, but I think it'll be a good tool and some guidance for the
Yes.
parents.
Okay. Any other questions on any of those 4 policies?
The bullying one on page 2, we had talked about, we did the policy back in October. We asked that the new one would have the reporting, like the steps the parents take. Who do they go to? How do they, what do they need to do to file a formal report? I know it says in here that, it's the responsibility to, bring forward from the parents, the employee, the student, but it doesn't really say exactly what the steps are. You need to fill out this form. You need to contact this one. Can we add that in here so the parents know or the students know what the steps are for the reporting?
Sounds like a good idea.
It is good.
Okay.
Yep, I'll do that, same thing.
Anything else anyone have? For either the bullying, the para, iPad, or laptop policies? Okay, so is there a motion to approve the first reading of those policies with that proposed change by Teresa?
Can we make it again? Okay.
You did such a good job last time.
I make the motion to approve the first reading of the para handbook, the iPad laptop policy, as well as adding the steps and requirements for reporting bullying to the bullying plan. I just lost my train of thought. That's hard.
That's good.
Close
Okay.
enough.
We did. Yeah, perfect.
Close enough.
I'll second.
Thanks, Cassidy. Any other discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Now we need to approve a resolution per Minnesota Statute 122A.631 to waive the state requirement to reserve an amount equal to at least 2% of basic revenue for staff development during the 2021-2022 school year.
I did not understand that.
Sure. Hey, that's all right. That's all right. There is a link on, we can put the link out up there actually. So what this is, obviously we're all sitting here today leading a district and we believe in developing our staff. And so what we're doing is just basically saying whether the district gives us money or not, whether we put it aside or not, we are going to develop our staff, is what it's in a nutshell.
So
That's
why
what
are
it's saying.
why are we waiving it if we want to do it?
Because we're already doing it. For years, you guys have never truly put aside money.
Okay.
So I'm just going off your history, or business management and superintendent's office are going on your history that you've always waived it, you've never set aside. You've budgeted for staff
Okay.
development. That's not the issue. We
Okay.
want to do that. Like we fund our fall-in service. We fund, if Aaron would, or Mr. Hungerholt would attend a principal's
Right.
conference, we do all that. So it's already happening. We just don't have a big picture of, hey, let's set aside this much for it.
Okay.
What if we set aside that much and go over? Instead, keep it open.
Yeah.
And you guys have done that. And
Okay.
it's pretty typical.
Okay.
And do our thing. Do our own
Do
thing.
our thing, yes.
Do our own thing.
Develop our staff.
All right. As long as
That's
we're
my
not
2
waiving the
cents.
right
You
of,
can
I mean,
disagree, though.
no, but I just was like, we gotta develop the staff,
Yep.
you know?
Oh, yes.
No,
Right.
so we're just saying, we're not,
We're not setting it aside, we are using
A
our
specific
funds.
amount that that
Yes.
statute would
Right.
require.
Yes.
Okay.
We
Gotcha.
don't want to be placed in a box. like
gotcha,
that.
gotcha,
Yep.
gotcha. Okay, I understand that, thank you.
Yep.
Very good. Any other questions? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve that resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution per Minnesota State Statute 122A.61.
To waive the state requirement.
Yes, I'm sorry, to waive the state requirement. Add
Okay.
that on the end.
Okay, very good.
I'll
Sir,
second that.
okay, thanks, Pat. Roll call vote, Cassidy,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Tim. Yes. Dave. Yes.
Yes.
Deb.
Yes.
And Teresa. Very good. You guys played musical chairs on me tonight, so I don't know where everybody is. Okay. Next item, a discussion on the superintendent evaluation. Thank you to Tim, who sent me a text the other day that said we need to talk about that. So I talked to Jen a little bit about it, and what we had talked about was deciding that we should establish some goals for her, which wasn't done a year ago. So when she started, so how do we give her a fair and proper evaluation without setting some expectations and goals for her? So it looks to me like the suggestion was just to present some goals at our meeting next month. And then a year from now, we'll evaluate her based on those goals.
Didn't we set goals when we met with Gary Lee back in February?
There was some discussion about things,
Okay.
but I don't think we said anything. We can use some of those ideas.
And
No
Dave and I
problem.
have talked, and many of you have come forward with items of concerns or challenges, that you feel the district has that we should be tackling. And don't think just because it's an informal discussion with me, we can't put it in a formal eval. So if you feel like, let me just use the word eval, that, maybe we need to look at a more comprehensive approach to teacher evaluations. That's just an example. Jennifer, can you start researching that? Start talking with staff about that, involve Aaron in that, teacher evaluation supervision, whatever it is. Can you find tools and then start implementing it, and then let's see if it works. So that's just an idea Gary brought up. He brought up other things too, but it's just one example.
We did actually set goals. It's in the minutes. I just pulled it up real quick. The board, we as a board set goals for us, and then the board set superintendent goals.
What are our goals?
Okay, led a short exercise where the board set their goals, which included consensus on the HVAC project. 2 for the board was student achievement. 3 was learning to work together. And then the board set their superintendent goals, which included 1, provide leadership for implementation on the HVAC project. 2, create an analysis of the current and possible alternative instruction resources for effective teaching. And then the board then did a survey to establish elements for Superintendent Backer Johnson to focus on. Those included the government team and teaching and learning.
Okay.
To be fair,
We want to be fair.
that night was a total blur to us new members. Am I right, Chad? Yeah. I mean,
I agree.
oh my goodness, it was our second meeting, and we were overwhelmed, and then he's having us set these goals and doing these activities, and we're like, we don't even know where we are.
And it was
You
a
know,
long meeting.
It was a long meeting.
Because before that, we
didn't
did
know
the
where we
HVAC
were.
project.
So what I did is I texted Dave, because in the Fillmore County paper, Chatfield had posted their special meeting for
Okay.
a superintendent eval. And I'm like, oh, God,
Oh,
we
yeah.
never did anything with that. I remember that night, I remember Gary sending us an email.
Right.
But I just was looking at the evaluation thing that he included in the eval. Yeah, that's all. I didn't remember setting goals either, sadly. So,
And I failed
Yeah.
the first one, because
But-
we have no HVAC project.
Right,
So
right.
you gotta grade me as an F there.
Right.
Go
So I
ahead, I'll
didn't-
take it.
Well, it
I'll
was
take
the-
I didn't know
the
if we were just
leadership on
using,
it.
Oh, there we
I didn't know if we were just gonna use MSBA's blanket one to do an evaluation. I guess that was when I looked at the email,
Oh, there it is.
that's all I was thinking. But if
My thoughts
there's
would
a
be
different-
that we should kind of get something more specific to us,
Sure.
instead of like a one-size-fits-all kind of a
Just start from scratch.
thing. And maybe we can use some of those same things that he suggested that night, but as a baseline kind of a thing to talk about. But unless you guys have different ideas, I'm just one opinion, so.
So my wondering is this the type of thing that we should have like a workshop versus a meeting? Where we kind of look at what are the expectations of a superintendent? I mean, I've been going to all the Minnesota School Board training, and they're always lining out what the superintendent should do. And you're like, if we look at that, and then we look at what are the needs in our district, and align that in some way. But I mean, I think we need some type of a workshop or
I think it'd be a great idea to have some sort of a workshop that
we can.
develop goals as a board too,
Yep.
and we can build off of what Gary Lee had led us through. That
His email was February 15th, and he put the superintendent eval resource guide on that email, in case you
Okay.
guys want to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was looking back at, and I texted a picture of that to Dave too. So, yeah,
so
gives you an idea of what they're looking for. I
Yeah.
guess.
I like Deb's idea of a workshop
Sure.
where that's, like, it's kind of just the, like, policy, that's your main focus, that's all you gotta work on.
Yeah.
And we could just have a workshop that talks about goals for us and for Jen
Yep.
and be separate from our regular business meeting, which, kind of gets, some things get lost when
Well, we have a
when
lot to
it
do,
gets saturated.
right,
That's
yeah.
right.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Should we set that for sometime in August? August is kind of a crazy month too, but. Our regular school board meeting would be on the 17th.
I felt like it was on the 24th and on that paper for some reason. Am I wrong?
Third
Okay.
Tuesday is the 17th.
Okay. Where was that paper we got?
Hold on, let me pull it up.
August 17th.
I'm definitely probably wrong.
We just need to change the days on these. These are 21.
Oh, it is August 17th. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You might have been catching September a little bit.
Just change these to 1, 21.
I have a lot going on in August with different things with Hefty and stuff like that too, so.
This is not my letter.
I'm gone a bit, but I'm home the second week and the third week.
Would it be bad to do it in September sometime? Say the middle-ish
That
of
feels like
September?
that'd be fine.
Would that be bad?
I was kind of hoping we'd have it done before school started, but I mean, if we have to push it off a little bit for everybody back, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal.
Okay. How does September 14th sound for a workshop meeting starting at 6:30?
We have policy at 3 o'clock that day.
Oh,
Give me a long.
You want to make a long
Can I not do that?
you could maybe do policy at a different time.
I am not getting up at 7 a.m. again.
We tried to get her to come at 7 a.m. She.
I
she
made it. I was in
resists.
bed half asleep, but I made it.
I'm writing that meeting bright and chipper.
Because the 21st would be our regular meeting then.
Yep. And Aaron, the first day of school is what, 7, 8, 9? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep, 7 for high school and then your elementary, yeah, 7.
Could we do?
Does anyone else have any issues with the 14th? You get later in the month, then you start getting
gonna
into
say the
harvest
16th.
time.
What about the 16th
Yeah, I
date?
don't want to get past
On a
it.
Thursday.
That's pretty bad.
Could we do the 16th?
Does a Thursday work for people or no?
Yeah, that'd be fine with me.
If it's after like 6:30 or 5, I mean, it would work for me.
So if we do it at 6:30,
Yeah.
like we normally would be? Okay. 16th at 6:30? Okay. And somebody will send out some sort of a reminder?
Yep. We'll have an agenda posted.
Perfect.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, September.
Okay. All right, very good. Any other thoughts or discussion about that? Otherwise, we'll work on superintendent goals and board goals that night.
My only thought would be is if we, not that I want to have, who came to us before? Gary. Not that I want to have him come again, but like what you have, if he sent us to you.
Yep, I have it. I can
You
email
have
it with this. Yep.
Okay,
I
so
have
like we have a
everything.
list of the list of what the recommendations are from
Yep.
MSBA. but
Or
then-
how to handle, how do you establish goals? It's a process.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the process. So everything's in.
But
Gary's
more,
packet.
Is it
but more
possible
like
that
what
he could come?
He
I-
could.
I mean, it'd
it's up to you guys.
it'd be kind of nice to have a whatever I want to say, not a third party, but kind of that, as a facilitator
He's great. I mean, he will. He'll
that
help
would,
us with
that
everything.
knows what we're doing, knows what they're doing, and could help us out that way. I don't know if it's possible, but
I
it's.
can ask. Do
we
you guys
can-
want me to
we-
ask?
We can
I was
ask.
gonna say, it worked great for Sarah tonight, even just having him on TV.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll offer
At
that
the
too.
worst
We'll
case
either
scenario.
Zoom him in or
Yeah.
bring him. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Yep, he's great.
Okay. Anything
Exciting.
else?
Good stuff.
Okay, we'll move on to the reports then. We don't have a student rep, and we don't have a staff report tonight, so how about a principal?
All right, so the policies or the handbooks were kind of the big things we were working on, but one thing I wanted just to share. So working on the master schedule, I know we're working on with the new hires, with getting people off overloads and all those things. So looking at what I came up with today, I sent it out for some people to double check to make sure I'm not seeing things. But as of right now, I think last year we had 4 or 5 teachers on overloads, which obviously is extra money for the school district, based on if it's a prep or a study hall, things like that. As of today, not including our art, music, and computers, because those teachers are K-12, so they kind of get, their schedules are both high school, middle school, elementary. So excluding them, just looking at middle school, high school teachers, as of today, if I looked at it right, we have one teacher with a 0.1 overload. Otherwise, all of the other overloads have been absorbed through our new hires and movements and things of that nature. So,
Very good.
and another note that also includes 8th grade is our big class of 30 plus kids. We are still splitting them.
Thank you.
So that is also that's always been an extra cost for us since they've been in kindergarten. When they get in the 9th grade, we won't be splitting them because we'll be moving them to
cost
different
savings.
classes. So next year you'll see a little bit more cost savings with the FTEs because we won't need to split that class. So that's kind of what you guys we were hoping for, what we looked at. That's kind of where we are at. Like I said, I was just trying to be able to bring this to you guys tonight. I have some people looking at it today, some other teachers and Jen and Sarah and stuff. And if once it's finalized and looks like it's right, I'll be sending it out to all staff, and then you guys will get a chance to take a look at it too. What it looks like, what we talked about is coming to fruition, and we've obtained that goal of getting everybody off overload. So,
Excellent.
Yeah.
so I thought that was good news for
Very
the
good.
budget for you guys. So that's kind of what our plan was. So.
Nice when a plan comes together.
Right? Unless, like I said, sometimes these things just start blurring together, so I did get it off of my plate and send it out to other people to look at. So, but that's other than, like they said, really the getting hires and schedules, the master schedule, and the handbooks and stuff, kind of all wrapped up now. When I start getting back in the flow of things now, all of a sudden, come August 1st, I'll start sending out my 5 million emails to the staff about expectations, schedules, bell schedules, all of the new year stuff. That'll come in August, so August I should have a more extensive report for you guys. So,
Aaron, I have one question. It looks like the staff development days have changed.
No, I messed that up on that one. I had to change the calendar.
Huh?
I think you might have the old one. What's the dates
Oh.
on that?
Jeez,
Let's say quick.
getting out of the way.
Yeah, for some reason.
Is that I'm sorry. No,
Yeah.
you're okay.
For
Just
some
wasn't
reason,
expecting
yes,
that.
it's not September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It's actually August 3rd, 30th,
I'll get an
31st,
updated
and
calendar.
1st. Yes, I caught that. We
You need
caught,
that
we
for
caught
life.
that maybe
I
a couple
do.
weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
I don't know how that happened.
Okay.
Like I told you, things start
Things
looking the
happen.
same.
That's okay,
The
but it
numbers
is
were
going to be
easier.
it's going to be
It's-
30,
it's-
31.
It's
and-
always Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
That's what I
The
thought,
week
yeah.
before we start school.
We should make sure that's on the website though.
Yeah, I just sent that out there. Yeah, I don't know if it's on the website, but we just
I'll
caught
get
that.
a
We
new
caught that.
calendar.
Sorry, Deb. I told everybody but you, Deb. I'm sorry.
I know.
I know. I just-
Man,
no,
I
we
tell
just
ya.
we just caught that. I don't know how that happened.
Okay. Any other
But good
questions?
catch, though. Thank you.
Any other questions for Aaron? Thank you.
Yep.
Superintendent report.
All right, folks. Well, good evening, and thanks for being here tonight. I just have a few quick reminders to our community, but also our board. As you can see, poor Tech Director Dylan Emerson is here not streaming tonight. He's actually recording us. As I have indicated through some superintendent notes, but also our Facebook page, our streaming services through Facebook are questionable at best. We have faced numerous challenges with them, and we ultimately made the decision we are done with that. So we will continue to promote our Facebook page and watching of our school board meetings, and also promote that it's open now. our community can come here and sit and listen and engage and have quality discussion with us. So we'll continue to do that. Also, please don't forget, families, that we do have meal summer distribution, and a huge shout out to our new food service director, Chris Hansen. She has been just a trooper through all her training she is doing and some changes she is making, and she has really taken this on. And I think we're going to hear some really positive accounts of what is happening in that department, so I'm excited for that. If you have not read the article that was in our local newspaper on Chris here earlier this summer, it was outstanding, and it really encapsulated who she is and what she stands for, so we're pretty excited for her. I must thank the office staff personally for helping me through the Minnesota Department of Education Civil Rights Review. It is an obnoxious investigation. It takes a lot of time and energies and efforts. But with the three ladies in there and Erin and all the support they gave and all the findings and research related to documents, we did extremely well. We have 3 findings, and the 3 findings relate to posting things on our website. We have specific narratives we post in our policy book, but we neglected to put them on our website. So our findings were minimal at best, so we're pretty happy about that. So huge shout out to these 2 and the other 2 in the office for helping me. It was a very seamless process because of them, so it was very good. Friendly reminder, and we will continue to communicate this out, but the Minnesota State High School League has released its official practice starts. This is always really important for our kids, of course. August 16th for grades 7 through 12 football, 7 through 12 volleyball, 7 through 12 cross country, 7 through 12 cheerleading. These dates have been and will continue to be communicated to everybody via Facebook, letters, etc. And if it changes due to COVID, we'll let you know right away too. But let's not say that. Finally, we said it earlier today when we opened up with huge thank yous to folks in our district for all the work they do, and of course folks outside of our district. Our community surely steps up all the time. But I didn't say it enough in my superintendent notes to the board. The projects that happen here in the summer are immense. It looks like a mess around a building in the summer, any school district building you go to, and it needs to. We dismantle things to make it better again for the next year. So again, huge appreciation to our office staff, all they're doing. Our custodial staff has gone above and beyond. If you haven't looked at our media center, where Angie Emerson is working her tail off in there, but also out by the pool right now, a lot of good things are happening, and we're just continuing on that role. I also need to thank the board. I'm in 1 whole year. And I tell you what, there's been less challenges and conflict than there has been great things. And I want to continue with the great things. Yep, change is hard. My dissertation is on the fear of change, so I get it. I understand it. We're getting into the deep now with issues in the district, whether it's policy, practice, procedure, staffing, finance, whatever it may be. But patience is going to be key to all this. But at the end, trust is important too. That we got to get there and we got to do it together. And I thank you for this past year for that. It's really meant a lot. I really appreciate all you. So thank you.
Appreciate that. And there's been change on the board with 3 of us are new this year as well.
It's a big change.
And I think we're learning how to work together as a team because it takes teamwork, starting with us all the way down. We all have our roles to play in this place, and so I think I feel like it's going very well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, me too.
very positive. I love it. Okay. Any school board committee reports?
I have 2. Dan sent out the SMEC update. The audit for SMEC will be scheduled for the week of October 11th. They're beginning to work on the 21-22 billing procedures, and also SMEC administrator contract negotiations begin this month. Ltfn well began drilling the new and improved well. A couple days into it, the well caved upon itself.
Oh, no.
So Dan says now that the truck is safe, they are yet again drilling a new well, and they're hoping to have it by the end of this week, have it working. I did get a chance to talk to Dan at a ball game. He said Ltfn has been great. They're covering all the cost because it's in their contract. We promised you a working well. We will give you a working well. So nothing is costing the districts for these. Nothing is costing SMEC. Ltfn is honoring their contract, which has been fabulous. SMEC almost has all of their positions filled with a few exceptions. One would be we need a paraprofessional in our cards program here for them. And then the ESY, which would be extended school year, started the 12th. The students are in 3 different locations: Alden, Kingsland, Adam, ECSE, and the SMEC Center. He said they've had great turnouts, and the SMEC Academy is going well. Another group of students will start on July 19th, which would have been yesterday. And community ed, it's gone great so far. The kids, you can tell the kids are happy to be back and doing things. T-ball was done last week. Beginning baseball's almost done. Nina did bucket drumming for the kids last week, so they got to be in the parade, which they thought was pretty cool. And some of them got to make their own drumsticks even. Community ed committee will plan to meet in August, and we will start setting classes for the fall. That's it.
Very good. Anything else? Otherwise,
Can I say one thank you really quick? Sorry. I know.
just one second. Negotiations, we're still continuing with the negotiations with the teaching staff. It's going very well. We've got a lot of things agreed upon, but hopefully we can get it done maybe in one more meeting. So that's where we're at on that. We're going to meet again on hopefully the 30th, if that works out for Jen. Go ahead, Aaron.
I just wanted to thank Yellow Forever for the donation for if you guys haven't seen the new basketball hoops out on the court. I've seen kids up there every day, every night lately. We are going to cut down the old ones, make that safe. We do have the stencils in to make a basketball court, and our next project hopefully is to put a volleyball court out there. We have the poles already out there to get a net, maybe like a sand court or something. So working on getting more things out there for the kids to do, keep them busy and stuff like that. So just wanted to say thank you to Yellow Forever, and then Tim kind of orchestrated getting all the poles and everything in, and just thank you for that. I think that was a great addition to our playground for the kids out there. So.
Sounds good.
On the Yellow Forever note, Brenda and I have to go through the pay register that's charged to our code, but it looks like this past year, the Yellow Forever Committee, we donated over $17,000 into the district.
Oh,
Yay.
amazing.
Awesome. Awesome.
Wow.
In regard to another committee, buildings and grounds, are we gonna see something about the water heater? Or we had something about these 2 bids and.
Yeah, we just met actually later this afternoon,
Okay,
and the committee recommended one of the bids on the water heater.
okay.
We'll get that in August.
What else did we recommend?
Tuck
Something-
pointing.
Yeah, the tuck pointing of the
Okay.
elementary
All right.
as well. The LED lighting is still an ongoing project as far as putting together some specs and stuff that we can put out for bids. So hopefully this next month we'll have that accomplished.
And then like the things we agreed on last month, have they been ordered and it's all moving forward?
We're
Yes?
moving forward.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. That was my questions.
Yep.
Good.
Okay. Any other reports? Any other questions? Anything anybody would like to say before we adjourn?
The swimming lesson kids are really liking the diving board.
Good.
They're all in a line.
Okay. Otherwise, a motion to adjourn with, what's our meeting date? 17th, was it? August 17th? Yes. 6:30 PM for the next meeting. Anyone like to adjourn? A motion?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Cassidy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Teresa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Jeff,